Now, if you clicked on this video, there may be a chance you're in the market for a new camera yourself, potentially your first ever. And if that's you, you're exactly who this video is for. These tips are specifically focused to newcomers to photography and are all along the mindset on planning for the long term and saving you money. This video is everything I wish I knew before I bought my first DSLR in 2015. I spent $800 on a Canon T3i at my local Best Buy, and in hindsight, it was not money well spent. That brings me to tip number 1. Don't shop at major retailers. If this is your first camera purchase, chances are you're looking for a camera that comes with a lens. And if that's the case, no matter what retailer you walk into, you're only going to see options that start around $400 and upwards to about $1,000, sometimes even a little more. And while there's nothing wrong with thinking to look through the options at this price point, you may be naturally inclined to think that this is as good of a purchase as anywhere else, and you would also assume that the $1,000 camera has to be way more capable than the $400 one. And the reality isn't so. Some of them will have higher burst rates for photos, some of them will have more autofocusing points, some of them will see better in the dark. Every single camera in this price range that has a lens bundled with it is an APS-C size sensored camera. And what that means is you could literally swap out any body in this price range with one another, and it's going to make no difference to your photos. For these reasons, I suggest staying away from buying something at any major retailer. Their options are limited and misleading, and for a first-time camera purchase, you're going to spend way more than you have to. Tip number 2, buy a camera for its lens selection over its list of features. When you buy a camera, and just about any camera, all you are buying is a device that captures the image of a 3x2 box, and what you stick in front of that 3x2 box will look about the same no matter what 3x2 box it is. The only thing that will significantly change the look of your photos are A, what you're taking a picture of, B, the lens attached to it, and C, the size of its sensor. When it comes to using that 3x2 box, nothing will make you feel more limited than not having the right lens for the job. Not the number of autofocus points, not low light capability, and not your camera's burst rate. And while all these items are important for certain circumstances, having the right lens will always come first. And in terms of lens availability, Canon has the best lens selection, and it's probably not going to change anytime soon. And it's not to say Nikon, Sony, and the other brands don't have the right lenses, but just about any focal length you're looking to buy will always have the most affordable options and various options when you buy it for Canon. My third tip is to ask yourself the question, do you have any immediate plans where you need video? As I said before, every entry-level camera on the market will take about exactly the same photos, and you can extend that to years and years back to cameras from the mid to late 2000s. If you don't need video, you could easily find a great DSLR that is very capable of outstanding photos for less than $100. If you're spending more than that, you're not looking hard enough. Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace are great places to start. My fourth tip is megapixel count matters less than you think. When you start looking throughout many of these older cameras, you'll see they clearly don't support the higher megapixel count of cameras today. And for those of you who would think that 10 megapixels would be just too small, just consider that 4K resolution is only equivalent to about 8. So don't be afraid of the lower megapixel counts that you see on these bodies. They still have plenty enough resolution for just about any application today and are very capable of excellent prints. There's also some real extra benefits of shooting with an older camera. The size of the raw files for an older camera can be 1/2 to 1/3 the size of entry-level cameras today. So besides the fact it will save you more space on your hard drive as you start taking thousands of photos, it will also be less strain on the performance of your computer. This comes in handy if you're doing heavy photo editing. Photoshop in particular can be incredibly demanding, so if you're starting off with a smaller file size, it'll allow you to edit more efficiently. My fifth and main tip, and really the most important factor I've learned with everyone I've come to know when it comes to starting. If you end up loving photography, like seriously a lot, like as much as I do, the first camera you buy is going to be the first one you're looking to replace in about 6 months or less.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
I don't recommend trying to buy a new camera that you can grow into over time, because you're going to find something about it you don't like regardless. Then you'll be stuck with something you already spent several $100s on, and you just want something new. So buy something old. It'll still do the job, probably more so than you can do, and it's only when you have a wealth of experience shooting that you should be dropping more money on a newer body, because then you'll know exactly which features matter the most to you. Maybe you want the bigger sensor, maybe you want the smaller sensor, maybe you're fine with what you have already, in which case you definitely save the most. Also, if you get used to working with a camera from 2007, by the time you upgrade to one that's modern day, no matter what you choose, it's going to feel light years ahead of what you were used to. Buying into a body much later will ensure that you actually get some longevity out of it, instead of buying the wrong thing immediately. So for a bonus, I went on Craigslist and I found this DSLR for a whopping $25. Then I went on Amazon and bought the cheapest portrait lens I could find, the Yongnuo 50mm 1.8 for $47. This made a grand total of $72, and in terms of photography cost, that is a bargain. That is dirt cheap. In fact, I could pair this up with 2 more primes from Yongnuo for less than the $400 asking price of a new Canon T6. This would give me far more photography capability than that alone. So the camera in question is a Canon Rebel XT or the 350D. It has 8 megapixels and an ISO range of up to 1600. I like the sound. I had fun shooting with this camera for sure. It definitely controls pretty easy. So the battery did die pretty fast, but it was a really old battery that was sitting in there. I know you can get a battery grip for this thing. I'm not going to waste the money, but it will do well enough if you know what you're doing, and it would be a great tool to learn on. You obviously don't have to shoot as inexpensively as I did for this one, but you can get a decent camera for a very little amount of money. Also, with a 16 gig card, it looked like it was going to give me like 2,000 shots on there, so that's pretty awesome. This is my first video, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you tune in to the next one. Take care.
223, man. Go get the album. Album dropping 223. I got a long way to go.